Hi everyone, I'm Siobhan Milner and this is Total Performance, a podcast dedicated to all things athletic performance and injury prevention. Join me and my guests as we explore the many aspects that come together to build our total performance picture. Let's get into it. I've been getting more and more questions about supplements recently. I just want to preface all of this by saying my background is as an exercise scientist and I'm a strength and conditioning coach. So if you're looking for specific nutrition information, it's always best to go to a registered dietitian. And just remember that anyone can call themselves a nutritionist in most countries. So you really want to look for a registered dietitian to make sure that you're getting advice from someone who's qualified, trained, and experienced. But I can give generalized nutrition advice as part of my role, but that's not even what I'm going to be doing here today. The main thing I want to talk to you about is why you should always check that your supplements are third-party batch tested. There's a lot of people on Instagram, Facebook, social media selling supplements, making lots of really bold claims about what their supplements can do. And a lot of these supplements are coming from influencers. I see a lot coming from pyramid schemes as well. What I want you to know is that supplement contamination is not rare. So I'm going to explain what that is and how often it occurs. But one of the ways we can avoid consuming contaminated supplements is by taking third-party batch tested supplements, if we're going to even take supplements at all, which I'll also touch on. But I just want you to know right off the bat that no supplement is 100% guaranteed safe, especially if you are a professional athlete or an elite athlete of some sort competing at the international level. If you don't want to fail a drug test, then you want to be really careful about what you're putting in your body, because if your supplements are contaminated, even if you checked the batch number, even if they'd been third-party tested and they've somehow given you a positive test result, the athlete is always responsible for what's in their body. So as I mentioned before, contamination of supplements is not rare. A high percentage of supplements contain ingredients that are not listed on the label. We see this time and time again in studies. If you check on my website, I've got a blog post about this as well, and I've got just 5 studies up there right away that found androgens, also known as steroids, or other banned substances in over-the-counter sports supplements. So of the handful of studies that I grabbed, and I also looked at a review as well, so a review, in case you don't know, takes lots of different studies and looks at the data. So looking at all of these studies together, anywhere between 5 and 58% of supplements were contaminated. What do we mean by contaminated? Either they contain steroids or other banned substances that were not listed on the label. So just because you've read the ingredients list of a supplement doesn't mean you know what's in it. What you really want to be super careful of is anything that says proprietary blend as well, because then this is a blend of some sort of substances that the company has put together, and they do not have to disclose what is in that blend. So this is also a major red flag, especially if you're an athlete and you're going to be drug tested. Stay far away from proprietary blends. But even if you're not an athlete, you don't necessarily want to be taking something like a steroid without having any knowledge of taking it. So just be aware, by taking supplements right off the bat, you may be unintentionally doping, and the risk is much higher if your supplements are not third-party batch tested. So knowing this, one of the other things you need to consider is, do you even need supplements, whether that's as an athlete or as someone as part of the general population? Again, remember, my background is an exercise scientist. You should always speak with a registered dietitian for personalized nutrition advice. But that being said, social media is a hellscape of mis and disinformation when it comes to health, fitness, and performance. And this quote from the International Olympic Committee consensus statement on supplements for high-performing athletes is telling. And I quote, "Only a few supplements, including caffeine, creatine, specific buffering agents, and nitrate, have good evidence of benefits." So there's a ton of stuff out there that's being advertised as improving your performance or having this effect or that effect that doesn't actually have the evidence that it provides the effects they're claiming. As I mentioned earlier, as an athlete, if you consume a prohibited substance, you can be banned from sport for up to 4 years, and there are no exceptions. Even if you didn't know that there was a banned substance in your supplements, as I say, if there was something hidden in your supplement and it wasn't listed on the ingredients list, according to the World Anti-Doping Code's strict liability principle, athletes are ultimately responsible. So athletes are ultimately responsible for any substance found in their body, no matter how it got there. So you want to be really careful if anyone offers you any sort of supplement, because you just don't know what's in it. Again, I know not everyone listening to this podcast is an athlete, so maybe some of those things aren't as concerning for you. But again, there's a reason why a lot of these things are prohibited, and it can be because they cause harm. So I think it really makes sense to make an informed decision, or as an informed decision as you can, about what you're putting into your body. If you're going to take supplements, so if a registered dietitian has established that supplementation is a good idea for you, or if you want to take one of these supplements that you know has proof of being effective, something like creatine, caffeine, then one of the ways you want to make sure that that is really what you're putting in your body is checking that it is third-party batch tested. First of all, you want to be aware of what is on the WADA prohibited list. So again, if you're an athlete, that's super important. You can find that on the WADA website, which is www.wada-ama.org. And then for everyone, when you're wanting to check if your supplements are tested, you want to use a local substance checking website or an app, or if you're an athlete, one that's specific to your sport federation, to find third-party batch tested supplements. So this is different in every country, but often what you can do is Google drug-free sport and then your country, and then you'll find a supplement or drug testing database. So not every country has one of these. So sometimes you have to find one that is from another country close by or from a sports federation specifically. But what you can do is you can type in the name of the supplement that you're looking at, and often the brand name too. So let's say you're looking at creatine, you'd type in creatine, and it would bring up a list of all of the different brands of creatine that have been tested. And then you'll see if they've passed the test. So if they have actually got creatine in them and nothing else, for example, if we're talking about creatine. And then the most important thing is that you check the batch number. So let's make up a brand name. Let's call it Siobhan Creatine. You would type in creatine, you'd click on the brand Siobhan Creatine, and then you'd look at the batch numbers tested. You'll see a couple of different numbers there. Often maybe it's only one batch, but what you want to then check when you go and buy Siobhan brand creatine is that you are buying the batch number that has been tested, because not every batch will have been tested, and you need to make sure that you're buying a tested batch. So the batch number is usually a few numbers long. Then you'll go on your other website that you're buying the supplement from and you'll check, is that the batch number? If it's not, exercise caution, especially if you're an athlete. It's better to stay away and find something that's third-party batch tested. And again, the safest route if you're an athlete is always taking no supplements if you want to avoid inadvertently doping. But of course, work with your sports science team, your medical team, your nutrition team to make that decision too. For everyone else, make sure you're checking batch numbers and checking that things are third-party tested. What do I mean by third-party tested? That means that it's not tested just by the company that's selling it. So that's why it's really important to go find these databases that exist, because they are testing on behalf of a whole lot of different companies. It's not like Siobhan brand creatine is testing themselves and saying, yeah, it's fine. It's someone else outside, external to that company, is testing and making sure that what is in the supplement is actually what is on the label. And just a reminder, make sure you're meeting your dietary requirements through whole foods first and foremost, and make sure you're getting the most important parts of recovery down too, like sleep, eating enough, staying hydrated, having proper programming in place, because if that sort of stuff is not in place to begin, if you don't have that foundation, supplements are a really small part of your performance. And again, if you're an elite athlete, it could be an important part of your performance, but again, a small part compared to planning your training properly, sleeping properly, eating properly. So get all of those in place first as well. I know I'm sounding kind of doom and gloom about the supplement thing, but I do want to drive home this quote from Sport Integrity Australia. Sport Integrity Australia says, although batch tested products are the lowest risk supplements, they do not provide a guarantee against testing positive. That means on a doping test as an athlete. And you can still face anti-doping sanctions if you test positive from one of these products. Remember, no supplement is 100% safe. The only way to have zero risk is to take zero supplements. So I hope that helps clear up a little bit. If you've got any questions about how to find out if your supplements are third-party batch tested, you can always send me a little message or leave me a comment somewhere on social media and I can respond. But again, if you Google something like drug-free sport and then your country, you should find up a similar database, or you can just Google supplement third-party testing database and see what you come up with there. Try to make sure that these are not databases that are owned by companies that sell supplements. Again, that wouldn't be third-party, so we're trying to find something external. I hope this helps. Good luck out there. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Just a reminder that you can find further podcast episodes at www.siobhan-milner.com/podcast. And this is where you can also find different ways of working with me if you head to www.siobhan-milner.com. Enjoy.